Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. This is episode 449. I'm your host, Sean Garmer, here with me as usual, Mr. Mark Morrison.
Howdy.
And well, today we have quite a bit of news to talk about here between all three of the major console makers, between Sony saying that they might be interested in acquiring not just WB's game assets, but also their IPs and HBO Max itself. You got plus you got Marathon being delayed from Bungie. You have Xbox announcing their partnership with AMD to include next consoles plural. You have Nintendo and with their Donkey Kong Bananza Direct, and also some talk about third parties that might be coming to the system, and then also sales for their console too, for the third party stuff that's been interesting. Plus some other things, including Mindseye already possibly suffering layoffs to their staff because the game did so poorly. And then I'm going to talk about Rematch as well, the multiplayer soccer game from Slow Clap. I don't think anybody thought they were going to make a soccer game. That's their next game, but we'll get into all that and more right after this.
You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
All right, so let's go ahead and get the housekeeping out of the way here. So be done with that. Hopefully, sorry for everybody that we are not coming in at the normal 9:00 time. Work was ridiculous for me, so I couldn't actually get all the stuff done, which I usually do like as I'm working little by little, but it was ridiculous. So we're starting an hour later at 10:00. For those of y'all listening or watching on demand, doesn't matter, but I'm just letting y'all know. We are going forward also because apparently Facebook is clamping down on people that don't have a certain amount of viewers or followers to your page. You can only have one show broadcasting at once. So essentially, we're just going to be broadcasting live on YouTube now, and then it'll be available on demand on YouTube, and you can still listen on podcasts later. But letting Radlich have the Twitch and all that, since he, we always end up having to fight about it because we both go on at 9 on Mondays. So just gonna let that go on as it is. Right now, they're actually reviewing the Elio Pixar movie. So if you subscribe to the YouTube channel and you like movies, like TV shows and stuff, they do that every week on Mondays. And they're reviewing Elio right now, but they usually review every kind of big movie that comes out each week, if not like a TV show or something. And also we got anime folks that review all the seasonal anime. Well, not all of it, but most of the big stuff. So if you like to watch seasonal anime, go check out Otaku Cafe. They did a great job over there. And like I said, you can just go subscribe, follow whatever on any of the shows on podcasts. Just go search Video Games to the Max on podcasts. Leave us a review. Let us know over there what you think. So we don't have a lot of games to talk about this week. Mark was out of town for a bit, and I've had no car, and we've been busy with other things. So I do have one game to talk about here, Rematch,
Right.
which Slow Clap, the folks that made Sifu and Absolver. This is their next game here. It is on Game Pass. By the way, so if you have Game Pass, you can just go over there and give it a whirl. But it does feel like if Rocket League had humans instead of cars. So if you want to give it like a baseline for you to understand, there is the learning curve to this game is not easy. I think even if you're like somebody that I didn't play last year, but I normally do play the EA Sports FC games or whatever, and obviously I have a big history with those games anyway. But even the control scheme is completely different. right? So you can't just go and map the controls to what you do in EA Sports FC and just go, okay, I'm going to play that way. You cannot play the game the same way. You can't, the camera angle is completely different because it's behind your player the whole time. So you have to get used to like, oh, I'm not going to be able to see anything that's going on behind me. I can only see when players are like kind of in my periphery or in like ahead of me. So
Right.
it's another kind of angle to playing that game, and it is kind of like something to get used to for real. I mean, it took me a bit. I had to do the tutorial like 2 times to kind of finally get it, because there's a lot of things you won't be used to if you're just used to playing the traditional like soccer games. Passing does not go smoothly. You're not going to be able to just pass to the other player by pressing a button and it just goes to them. There's a rhythm to it. Like you have to know how strongly to press the X button. There is still a lob and stuff like that, but even shooting is different because you have to aim almost like you're shooting a gun, where you have to aim the reticle and then you have to actually hold down the right trigger to shoot. So it's like you're doing almost 2 things at once, and that's a really kind of thing you got to get used to. You can't just press the right trigger at any point because the ball's going to go somewhere else. So it takes a bit, and then you're always playing against actual people. So it's not a thing where I can just go play with some bots and figure this out. Like you got to like learn as you go, and a lot of people are doing the same thing. So, and then you've also got somebody always has to play goalkeeper, and it doesn't just get AI'd. You have to actually play goalkeeper. So that's another thing too. You're like diving out of the way. You're diving to go get the ball. You're having to actually advance the ball and figure out where you're gonna lob it at or shoot it or whatever. So there's a lot of like technique to it. And there's not like, oh, let me just do a skill boost to get better. Like you actually have to learn how to, do all the moves and stuff like that. So I think people that like competitive games, or you like Rocket League, or soccer, I think this, and I don't think you even have to like soccer. I think you can easily kind of get the basics of it, and then just play and learn. The things that are missing, I think, are most important is there's no crossplay right now, and there's no lobby system, so you can't get your friends to play with you right now. You kind of just have to play with randoms, or hope to God that your friends are playing and y'all get grouped in the same game.
Right.
So hopefully that comes pretty quickly, because I think this is really predicated on if you have a team that knows what to do and y'all figure it out, you could beat people really well, right? But if you're playing with a bunch of randos and nobody ever figures out how to play as a team and everybody tries to play hero ball, you're gonna get whooped. So, and there's also a mercy rule. So like if somebody scores 4 goals or more, whoever scores 4 goals first, the game ends. Unless you score something that keeps it before you get to 4 goals. Like you have to keep it like at 3-1 or 4
Right.
or whatever. So there's that as well. The games can go by really quick. Like they don't go more than like 5 to like 7 minutes or so. But I had a lot of fun. It's just you gotta be okay with. I guess very similar to Rocket League. You're not going to get it immediately, I think. But there is, I think, a bit more frustration that's going to kind of sit in because it's so individualized. Like Rocket League has a lot more kind of like crazy stuff that can happen because you have the cars. Here, there is a lot of things that also kind of like go with like a bit of technical issues, right? Like, oh, I know that I freaking stole the ball from that player, but somehow they still have the ball. And you can literally see the ball go through you and go back to them, or just you clearly had the goalkeeper go one way, but they went the other way. It's like technical stuff that hopefully they said they're already working on updates and things like that, because they're already working on game modes, like they're already working on a tournament mode for when you play again in ranked matches, because you have to get up to, so you do have like a level up system in the game. Depending on how well you do whatever, you don't actually play ranked matches till you get to level 5 with your character, but you do always end up playing against people, and there are like cosmetics and things that you get, and they also have the terrible microtransactions, including like certain like actual real life players that you can use as a skin. So I can see how this is going to get not pay to win, but people are going to be spending money stupidly in this game, which obviously SoClap wants you to do. But it's kind of, I can see it getting egregious after a while. Hopefully they don't produce any kind of pay to win cosmetics or whatever, but
you said there's ranking for players, I assume, right?
Yeah, there's ranked matches, so I assume that eventually that you will get to ranked matches, and then your player will be ranked, and I don't know how the matchmaking works if you'll eventually get ranked with those players.
I hope the final rank is just called Pele.
Right? That'd be funny. But yeah, I'm sure that this game will have it's already got 1 million players, obviously helped by being on Game Pass. But it's doing well on on most of the platforms in general. We'll see if it continues to have legs as they do updates and things like that, and proves to be a pretty decent live service thing for Slow Clap. But so far I like it. I'm probably going to use it as a thing that I play here and there. It's definitely not something I'm going to play over and over and over.
Right.
But yeah, it is nice to have something in Game Pass so you can be like, oh, let me go. I got like 15, 20 minutes. Let me just go play this for a little bit, Oh, and I forgot. I got the Switch 2 Pro Controller. It is very comfortable to hold.
Yeah.
Much more comfortable than the Pro Controller 1. It has a different ergonomic feel to it because it doesn't have the. So you know how the Pro Controller 1 has the like little kind of shiny like plastic, or like you can see through the controller.
Yeah.
This doesn't. This has more of the. It kind of feels like the same thing like the Joy-Cons do. Has that same kind of feel, but the sticks feel a bit better, and I rolled credits on Fast Fusion using the controller, because it when you get done with all the 4 of the Grand Prix, you technically roll credits on that game. But yeah, I mean, it feels good to hold. I don't know about it being the extra whatever $10 or that they're charging. Obviously, some of that's because of economical reasons. But yeah, I mean, if you want to have it, or you want to have a reason to have an excuse to have another Pro Controller in the house, and you have the Switch 2, I definitely recommend it. It's very comfortable to hold and all that. And obviously helps because again, all my controllers are behind my TV. How I turn them on is by waking them with the controller. I don't know if Nintendo's ever going to make the Pro Controller 1 be able to wake up the console. So I guess
I'm sure they will, but they just won't announce it. It'll just they'll just probably sneak it
maybe
in.
But I find that to be a big excuse as to why they know people wake their console with controllers. Like, so they could have made that something. If you're gonna make it backwards compatible, why not make it all the way backwards compatible? I understand. Look, I'm not a developer. I don't know what tech needs to be included in order to make that work. But I mean, Microsoft made it work. So it's possible.
They didn't bother to fix the Joy-Con problem, so why would they fix this one?
Yeah, that's interesting too, right? Like they already have the problem with some Joy-Cons already have drift, and the thing's not even a month old.
I mean, It's barely 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, it was happening. It was happening like day one for some people, which is incredible
Right.
already. And then
I guess
so
that Nintendo seal of quality isn't so quality anymore.
yeah, once I like pay this off, I will probably start working on getting some of the things that to be able to have my console portable, like the carrying case and the. Right now, I don't move it from my TV unless I use it in my room. I haven't taken it anywhere.
Again, where would you ever go that you need the console
Well,
with you?
to my girlfriend's house I stay over there for on my days off, I stay over there the next day. So if I want to use the console, I have to take it with me because it's not like the Xbox or PlayStation where I can just hook up the Chromebook and do remote play. So I got to take it with me, and then also doctor's visits, things like that, where I do take it with me and all that. So we'll eventually work on that, getting those carrying. But the carrying case is good to have anyway because you don't want to have that thing naked in your backpack or whatever. So I always kept my Switch 1 in the case, and it served me well. And that one comes with a screen protector already.
Aside from your Switch 1 screen having a dead pixel and the kickstand breaking off.
Well, the kickstand just sucked. I mean,
my kickstand is still good.
Look, I literally tried to use that thing like 3 or 4 times and it kept coming off, and it got to the point where I just lost it one day, and I was just like, well, I have no idea where the hell this kickstand is, so it's gone. Like, whatever. But yeah, that's it for me as far as gaming goes. Fast Fusion is still really good fun.
Right.
You said you play a lot of pinball.
Yeah, there's a pinball museum kind of close to me, about an hour away, and they have some funky hours, but I was finally able to go to it last Friday. It's cool. They had about 50 or 60 tables there. Yeah, it's a type of place you just pay to enter. Like, you don't got to pay the machine. It's just like $20 to get in. And that was like all day. So I spent like 3 hours there.
Oh wow.
I could have spent longer, but I had like perishable groceries in my car,
Yeah.
and a cat to get home to. So I should probably not be here till 8 p.m. or midnight or anything like that. And the distribution of the machines is interesting. They only had about 6 or 7 like post 2000 machines. Like most of them are actually like pretty new. It was like 2020 or above. About 20 machines that were from like the early to mid 90s to like early mid 90s or like late 80s. And then the rest were like before that, like early 80s or 70s, shit like that. I don't really touch those. I only like a few tables from like that era. My wheelhouse is like the like late 80s to mid 90s tables. So it's a bunch of like Funhouse and Medieval Madness and Attack from Mars and crap like that. Like Scared Stiff was good. And the late tables, they had a few. They had the new Elvira one, that was all right. They had Foo Fighters, that was okay. They had a Rush table that sucked, but I was like, yep, it is encapsulating the band, I guess.
Hey, don't say that. Rush is awesome. What are you talking
about? What else? They had a Twilight. They had 2 you might like. They had an Indiana Jones one, which I don't know if you ever played or not.
Cool.
And they had a Twilight Zone one that was like hacked up, kind of like it had like this weird mod on it where like the gumball machine didn't work. They just kind of kicked out the ball when he got to it, and I was like, okay. I mean, I guess this works, but it's odd.
Right.
And they had an X-Men one, which I want to say X-Men. There has been at least 4 or 5 various X-Men tables over the in the history of pinball. That might be like the most popular franchise. It's either that or Elvira. And they had a Dr. No table also, which
Dr. No. Okay. Yeah.
The They had a few arcade machines there. I mean, nothing. They had a somewhat busted Super Mario Brothers, where like the run button didn't seem to work that well. So I got a fire flower and like nothing happened. Like I kept pressing it, and Mario just kind of did nothing. I was like, well, that's cool.
That's always great.
That's some other stuff, like some like kind of kiddie stuff, like a few like small kid rides. The two things that I tried. One is called the Sega Holocene, and one is called the Sega Time Traveler. And these were like weird. I think they came out in like 1991 or two. They are like the evolution of like Dragon's Lair or like an FMV game,
Nice.
where like the screen is like quasi 3D. I played Time Traveler more, and it's like, yeah, you're this guy going through like these various eras of, you know, time, and like every FMV game, it sucks shit because it's designed to take quarters from you, and like this thing, like it had like a split second to react to shoot, and it's all these digitized actors. You can barely see what's happening on the screen. So it's like, am I supposed to shoot this guy or duck or jump
Yeah.
or what? You know? And I was like, yep, like every other FMV game, this is awful. But yeah, that place is cool. Like, I know you're not like huge into pinball, but
Yeah.
I dug it.
I like, playing it when you go to a place that has it, like a bar or something like that.
Yeah, there's a bar. There's actually a restaurant by me that I guess kind of remodeled recently, and they did put in some tables, but they're all like the new ones. It's all like Stern crap, and I don't like a lot of Stern tables. So
why? Just because of the way they play, or
yeah, I don't like the layout. I don't. A lot of them are kind of finicky. The rush table, that's a Stern one. That in particular is really bad because like I launched the ball and it immediately went down the middle, like drained. Like ball one, game one, and I was like, well, that's perfect. Like nothing I could do to stop it either. I mean, I could like, you know, hit the machine or something, but I don't really do that too often.
right?
And then it ball saved, and it launched the ball automatically. So I didn't have anything to do with it the second time. I did the same thing. I was like, yep, this is some quality design. And the second time I finally got like lucky and it like bounced off like right at the last second. But I'm like, the fact that this like ball launch like drains the ball immediately is not good design. Like you're not even giving the player a chance here.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
But yeah, it is cool. Like they're only open like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's kind of a bummer. But yeah.
Hey.
I also play Black Knight 2000, which has the all-time best song ever in the history of man. So that's cool.
Yes, sounds great.
I am underselling that bit. So
all right. Got plenty of things to get here. So let's start with the one of the big three, I guess, just to kind of start differently here. And because we didn't really talk about it when they had the initial like kind of impact of the game releasing. Mindseye.
well,
which, yeah.
it ain't your type of game, and it's so low quality that I don't want to play it. So
Well, I mean, I was kind of interested because of the, rep the game had and just the story kind of looked a bit interesting.
the
But
trailer looked
yeah,
okay. I mean, it looked
yeah,
like ghetto, or it looked like near future GTA or something. But
right. That's definitely the vibe they're going for.
right,
Yeah. They kind of nailed that aspect. The problem is that it had so many technical issues that it really brought things down for
yeah,
that game. And that's a problem because, you're getting people to want to buy your game and then they buy it. And even PlayStation is doing refunds for people that have played it more than the 2 hours or whatever their limit
right.
is. But so, it's not great. It's not great. Even the developers came out and apologized. It sucks that it looks like they're not going to be able to have the cyberpunk moment or Final Fantasy 14 or and put game that had a resurrection
Right.
type thing. Insert that here. It looks like that's not going to happen for Mindseye because, according to reports from IGN, because of the way the UK does their layoffs, where you have to enter a consultation period in order to lay people off, basically giving them time to know that, hey, you're going to be laid off. You need to go. You can go look for a job.
Right.
They are entering the 45-day consultation period, which means they are firing at least or laying off at least 100 staff. And they have 300 people at that studio, so a third of the staff. Obviously, some of that is the game's already done. Right now, it's just you're going to be doing maintenance and whatever updates and stuff like that. So there was probably going to be a bit of a churn, but because the game is doing really bad, like it has the worst critic rating of any game that is released this year.
Right.
That's not good. You don't want to be in Gollum territory kind of thing. It's just you hate to see that because they're also the ones that we're working on like everywhere, and some of Mindseye includes like their tech that allows you to kind of build things within it.
Well, it's only on the PC, but yeah, like that was a whole big. They were like, "Oh, we built." Like the way they kind of positioned it was like, "Oh, Mindseye is kind of this like not a slice, but like a proof of concept or a this is what everywhere will look like, or the building blocks are everywhere."
Yeah,
and it's like, we're good.
No, you got a 34 on OpenCritic. It's just
Right.
no bueno, unfortunately. Again, it's terrible for all the people that this may affect if the reports are true.
Let me ask you the real question. Do you think Everywhere actually ever comes out?
That's a tough one because they said that they put everybody on this game in order to like get it out, and now it's like I hope Everywhere comes out because that means that those people are still working on a game and still doing things.
Right.
Part of me feels like it's going to be one of those where it's going to be stuck in development for a while.
I don't think it comes out. I think they'll just kind of quietly cancel it and wind the studio down and that old chestnut.
Yeah, just again, that's not great. It sucks to see. But unfortunately, it's one of those things like when there was the rumors going around about how the producer said that he thought that people were getting paid to hate on the game. It's like you just use that as a smokescreen to try to get people behind it, and then your game wound up not being that good. The thing is, there's people like I've seen people, playing it that are saying like the game itself is fine, right? It's okay. It's like a 6 or 5 out of 10 game. Right. But the technical issues make it so bad that it's like, I'm not going to wait around to see if they fix this, right? You're going to refund it and,
it's that, but it's also like it on the surface, it looks like a GTA clone. Like it's not, but on the surface it does. And it's like, okay, you either had to go more in that direction or less. Like the fact that it presents this open world that has nothing for you to do in it, and you can't, steal cars, and there's jack shit to do except for go to the next mission objective or map icon, and that's it. Like even GTA 3 had side shit, not a ton at the time, but more than any other game at the time, back in 2001. So
it sucks because it has a really cool premise and things like that. It's just like, okay, the driving kind of feels all right, and okay, the shooting kind of feels
when the
okay.
wheel when the wheels are actually moving on the car, you mean?
Right, yeah, but it's just like when those things are working, which is not great because most of the time it's not.
Yeah.
Um, the rest of it is just kind of like, okay, well, here's that game, and it is what it is, and it's just like, all right. I mean, and they did a lot of marketing for this thing. They had it come out during SGF, so people were talking about it and all that, and it's just, yeah,
That
not
worked
great.
out well.
Um, you know, and then they got accusations of bot reviews and things like that too. It's like just not
Like
good all around.
the producer going like, "Oh, people are being paid to slam the game or something." It's like, no, this game isn't on anyone's radar. Like the fact that you actually think this is like insanity.
No, like, okay, it had a little bit of hype behind it. They kept showing it at things. But yeah, it's like he all of a sudden out of left field makes up this thing of just like, oh, there's this hate brigade on this game. It's
The
like, oh, we're
the,
doing the Forspoken thing where we're trying to hate on it.
the
And it's
hateocracy, yeah.
yeah, and it's like, no, that's not really happening. And then, well, you kind of proved yourself right.
All
That's
right.
not that's not good. You made yourself even look even worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, just we'll see. Again, hate to hear about what may happen to the people working there when we get to the 45 days from now.
All right.
Um, but it's a sad state of the industry again. Like you cannot have a game spectacularly fail like that unless you are a big public. And even if you are a big publisher, look, people are getting laid off when the games are doing great.
All
So
right.
if you're a big publisher, you're getting, look what happened to
I, I
BioWare, so
I think there has to be a line between, a game can be great and fail. Like that's kind of separate, but like a ambitious but flawed or bad game, I would still take over like unambitious garbage.
right.
And this kind of falls into that latter category. Like
Yeah,
this game did nothing new. Like basic combat is like fundamentally flawed.
right.
And yo, did no one like hit the red button before this game came out and said this is fucked? Or are you
And
just all in
maybe
this?
it's too far along at that point. They had to
Yeah,
have it
we
come out.
all this in the cult, and it's like, hey, the car
Yeah,
looks cool. It's like, okay, yeah, and like
right.
like one of these days, some company needs to hire me, like an EA or Activision, and they just need to run game ideas by me. Like we're thinking about making a new Crash Bandicoot team racing game. But like, why?
Well, hey,
Cancel.
Crash Bandicoot Team Racing just went over a certain sales mark, so
All right.
yeah, people liked it. All right, but moving on here to Sony and PlayStation. Uh I guess since we're already on a bad news front, I guess let's stay there with Marathon. This happened like basically the day after we did the show. So it's really old news for a lot of people at this point. But Bungie has delayed Marathon. I think ever since that whole thing came out about the plagiarism
Right.
allegations and all that, I've said time and again that game does not need to come out this year. It needs to get delayed. It needs to get out of people's purview so they stop talking about it and like have it basically just like kind of go away for a while, work on it, and let it come back and see if it can have that moment of redemption or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
again, this is kind of like Suicide Squad, where like I don't know how much they're really gonna be able to save it,
What are you talking
but
about, man? Suicide
yeah.
Squad's going great right now. That and Avengers.
Well, no, but like remember, Suicide Squad had that delay, that 1 year delay that was supposed to be the
Yeah.
thing that they were going to change the game and it was going to make it where oh, now it's going to be different. It's not going to be what you saw, right? And it's
Right.
like, okay, well, there's already a base part of the game here that Sony's not going to just let them not come out forever, right? And according to that business summit, it's supposed to come out in the fiscal of 2026. So that means it's got to come out by the time you get to the spring of 2026. Which, hey, if Grand Theft Auto 6 actually ends up coming out around then, you could technically have the game release, let it have its moment in the sun, and then GTA 6 comes out, and then everything else just takes it away. And you could say, hey, we tried, right? Do you think that the game has a chance at all of being something for Bungie?
No. It's a fundamental problem of like new players, or even you and me. We don't fall under the umbrella of playing Marathon back in the day.
Right.
Like, I barely know what it is.
Honestly.
But
but they've also like changed that game fundamentally, so it's not even.
That's the other problem though, is for fans who did like Marathon back in like the mid '90s. It's a completely different game, so they're already pissed. And this game isn't doing anything new, and there's already a glut of other crap, free to play crap, or even full price garbage that they could be playing. Their friends are likely already playing. So why do this at all? Like, you need to have like a really unique hook for a live service game. This ain't it. I would say, Helldivers 2 had a unique hook of, like, aside from the whole story aspect, it's a good version of an EDF game with like funny moments and shit.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the most recent one.
Yeah.
But before that, it was Sea of Thieves, and that was 5 years ago.
Right, but like at this point, Sony's maybe hoping like you get something like the finals where it has like a little bit of a peak, then it kind of goes away, and then it kind of still hovers around, but it's not the major. It's not another hell. It's not going to be another Helldivers for them.
Right.
And that's, I think, is unfortunate because Bungie needed it to be the next Helldivers, I think, in order for them to be able to keep their autonomy. There's a little bit of a hint in that business summit that kind of like it feels like Bungie's basically already has been made a Sony studio at this point.
I mean, the second that Sony bought them, you knew that those days were numbered. So
right,
they should have seen this right in the wall and gone, all right, if we want to stick around here, we can, but we're gonna be in the direction of them.
I wonder if this bombs like badly, if Sony kind of tells Bungie like maybe get to work on a Destiny 3 and stop. They already spun off the Team LFG that's working on that Gummy Bears thing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you guys can keep doing your MOBA or whatever, see if that ends up working out. But you guys, Destiny 3, that's it.
I don't see that. I mean, they could, and I think like there is some logic to what you're saying, but like people aren't excited for Destiny 2. And
well, that's what I'm saying. What's the point of why not just say, hey, it's a Destiny 3, it's a new game.
Well, I mean,
let's
like
get excited,
It's still going to be the same old trappings, like they can't, because I'm sure even if they did make a Destiny 3, they do some like character import or something.
Right.
I would say if they wanted to give Bungie an honest shot, they should say make a new single player game, or single player and multiplayer.
Yeah, there's people wanting them to add like a PvE mode to Marathon, and maybe that can happen down the line, but it's not going to happen regardless of when they launch that game, unless they're going to give them like 2 or 3 years, and I just don't. with the
Like-
way they are, where almost every single one of their live service things are just like not panning out right now, I don't think that they want to have another game
Right.
sitting around.
I mean, you are,
Yeah.
you're saying my point though. Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand the mentality of, and I think Destiny 1 and 2 kind of on the books, I guess it kind of worked out, maybe. But
Yeah.
I still don't understand the mentality of, you have a studio that is great or excelling at making one thing, and you're forcing them to do something else. Either you're telling them to, or they say they want to experiment. And it's like, why? Like, you are known for this one thing that you are great at. Stick with it.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to maybe do a smaller project to try to branch out, maybe do that, but don't stick the whole future of the company on this thing, because when it bombs, like say Anthem or Dragon Age or Mass Effect.
Well, technically, I mean, they're not. Technically, this is supposed to be another project, right? Because Destiny 2 is still ongoing. They still
but
have
like,
expansions, you know?
here's the thing. I think when this comes out and bombs, I don't think there's an if there. I think it's a when. They get one more shot, and that's it. And it's the same thing as BioWare right now. Like, if Mass Effect 5 comes out and tanks, they're done.
Yeah.
Uh,
I hope not,
so-
because I don't want to see. I mean, let's be fair. Whoever is still around at BioWare is it. That's a shell of itself. It is not the same.
yeah, it's not the same. I mean,
You
that's the
know,
other thing. Yeah, it's not like the same dude's been working there for 40 years or 30 years, and you know wrote Mass Effect 1, and he's been there ever since. But
right.
I'm
Exactly.
sure there might be like a few people, lifers or like longtime people. But yeah, especially in American game companies or Western game companies, people leave and come back or do whatever all the time. But
Right.
I'm very hesitant to think that like the people at BioWare currently now could put out a quality game.
Yeah, it's.
And I'd say the same thing about Bungie at this point.
But at least they have Andromeda to learn from. Like, they know what not to do. So hopefully that means that you take that as a learning
Right.
tool and you go, okay, we know what they
But
want. Let's get that into Mass Effect
you,
5
you
or whatever.
you say that, but they've currently gone through, I'll say three strikes.
Yeah. I mean, plus that, Jason Schreier report that like
Right.
says that they had to get a lot of the Mass Effect team to go and help them do the Dragon Age game,
Right.
and they weren't happy about it. So,
Yeah, I can imagine not. I'm like, I want to do something cool, not be settled to this thing. So
right. But okay, we shall see what ends up happening with Marathon.
That's why the next Sony story.
Also, do you think there's a chance that somebody just quietly cancels it? Because I was talking to Randy about it. He was just telling me I would not be surprised if next year somebody just goes, Sony has canceled Marathon.
I see it as 50-50. I could see them canceling it. I think the problem is there's already too much already out there of that game. Unlike, other
Yeah, like
live
we
service
barely
classic
have
games.
anything of Fair Games.
I think the only other outcome I could see is them putting out and it being free to play, and then just
that too.
praying to their gods that it catches on somehow. But I doubt it.
Yeah, we'll see. They do have some options there they can pull on that.
Right. The fact that it's like not, it has like no PVE is just odd. Because like you're not that competitive a game player. I really am not. Like I do deathmatch occasionally or like team deathmatch or something, but I can kind of take it or leave it. So It's like,
and there's a lot of people that don't want to play that way. I mean, look at the number one thing that Arrowhead said they were not going to do was they were not going to force PvP into Helldivers 2 because they didn't want a bad vibe in that game. A lot of people like to play PvE regardless. So
yeah, or cooperative. Yeah. So
yeah. that's something that I'm just surprised they didn't think about
Right.
far ahead, but maybe they thought, okay, we'll just put the game on and then we'll add that mode in eventually or something, and then didn't think they were good. Obviously, nobody can predict the whole plagiarism thing either. So
Right. See, I look at that. That's a fuck up, but I see it as so minor in the grand scheme of this game that it barely rates. Like,
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
most people
it
are not
slipped
gonna
through,
outside of
and
the bubble are not gonna know that even happened.
yeah,
So that's another thing too.
and they probably
But
pay. They took out the art, and I'm sure they pay the artist a small
I
little
wonder if there's like a
sum.
legal issue going on because that anti-real person's not even talking hardly
Right.
anymore. So
Yeah, I'm sure they
yeah,
paid him or her a nice little
yeah, her.
settlement and an NDA or something like that. It's like, all right, go away.
All right, sticking on the PlayStation, even though this technically is kind of more Sony proper and not necessarily that much PlayStation, but okay, it's in the realm. Sony, there are reports, and it's funny because the report actually comes from an old Wrestling to the Max source that we used to use a lot. So Scoops, SE Scoops,
Yeah.
because technically this is wrestling related because AEW has the TV deal with Warner Brothers for TNT, TBS, all that. So they're reporting on the AEW side of things that because of this new split that Warner Brothers has done with they split all their stuff into two things, two camps. One is like the global services, which is all their cable channels and
Right.
stuff like that. Which now that they've lost the NBA, they kind of have some ancillary, sports rights and whatnot. They actually have the TV rights to the Club World Cup that's going on right now. Among some other things. So, like, that's been pushed over there, and that's the one thing that Sony said they've been interested in the Warner Brothers IP. Warner Brothers, like, they actually tried to get like a movie studio with Warner Brothers at one point, but they couldn't get the tax write-off stuff done, so they backed out of it. But they've always had that interest, and they're really interested in HBO Max in owning some kind of streaming company to kind of have a bigger end to the movie studios and TV and all of that stuff. And then also, along with this, apparently the interest is that they would get HBO Max, they would get the IP, the actual IP of Harry Potter, DC. Trying to think of something else right now. They would own that now, along with the gaming assets. So it wouldn't just be, oh, we get the old library of all the games that have already released. We get the ability to make those games as well. So they're not just getting Hogwarts Legacy and then that's it. No, then now they can make the next Hogwarts Legacy. Now they can make the next Batman game. They could pull Rocksteady off of whatever Batman game comes off the one that they're making and just give it to Insomniac if they wanted to, or whatever. Hopefully not, because Insomniac really, I wish they could just stop doing stuff with Marvel and do their own thing. But it is what it is for them. They're stuck on that. So what do you think? And also, they have to wait for this deal to go through. So this whole splitting of the movie side stuff away from their cable channels won't actually finish until mid 2026, and I think then Sony has to wait till much later in that year to be able to say that they have intent to purchase. And I wonder if they're kind of filtrating this out there also, because it's not like Microsoft has also kind of been in talks with them in the past as well. Obviously, this is only when it was about the gaming side of things, about the studios, and not necessarily about the IP and all that stuff that Sony would be getting.
Right.
So what do you think about this? Do you think it's real? Do you think they really do have the interest? Do you think it actually does happen? And what do you think is what's the positives here for Sony if it actually goes through and all that?
I think it's always real. I mean, there's probably always some interest from these companies about whether or not what to do. I see it as I don't think Microsoft would only be interested in the gaming crap. If they can get Mortal Kombat and Harry Potter, be like, all right, that's cool, but they don't care about the streaming part because they don't make content like that.
Right,
So,
they don't.
I could see
they
it.
cared about it when they had the Xbox One and they were all TV, but that kind of backfired on them. So I'm sure they don't want to do any of
That's
that.
how well that works.
And also, I forgot to mention that Warner Brothers also split their game stuff now into their actual franchises. That they did announce they were going to do this a long time ago,
right?
But they finally did it. So like now it's like Game of Thrones, DC, Harry Potter, all that is now separated into its own, and Mortal Kombat. They're all kind of their separate things, and all the games are going to come out of those four big key franchises now instead of like trying to do other things.
Except for Wonder Woman.
Well, that got canceled anyway. So
I could see this also. Like, I could see if Microsoft like tried to buy this or tried to acquire it, it would probably run afoul of antitrust stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Not the games. If it only included the game studios, I don't think so because they don't. What is that? But if they did try to acquire like the other stuff that Sony's trying to get, yes, I agree with you.
As for Sony, like I could see it, like I could see at least like two of those properties are like popular. Harry Potter, despite all the J.K. Rowling nonsense, like that Hogwarts game was the top selling game of the year, I think, or of last year or whatever, or 2 years ago or whenever it came out. And Mortal Kombat's kind of an always dependable thing. It's really weird that Sony is now not even seeing, but they are the fighting game company. They own Evo. They help. I mean, if this actually went through, Sony
they have that Arc Systems work thing with Marvel.
Sony would literally be paying for Street Fighter, Marvel token, and the next Mortal Kombat. Yeah, and it's like, this is odd, but okay.
And that's sort of like an into their, because again, this is another thing too, is Sony then gets all these multi-platform things that are recurring, right? So it's not just Mortal Kombat, but it's like, okay, well, Harry Potter's too big. We can't just make that an exclusive. We could put that on other things and make money, right?
And like the one time, I think it is more Sony said this than Capcom at the time. But when they did try to like take Street Fighter V and make it exclusive, it sucked shit. Yeah. So I think both companies know now not to do that.
Yeah.
So I could see Mortal Kombat and whatever new Batman game they're gonna make in multi-platform, because like, why not? Like these are important to us, but they're not our tentpole legacy or current franchises. So
I did get a comment on Blue Sky that if Sony acquires WB Games IP and revives Wonder Woman and the Nemesis system, they will be my personal heroes.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with that in a way. Like, I hate seeing, now we've seen both versions of what would have been the Nemesis system die, right? Because the Black Panther game was also supposed to be a Nemesis system kind of like, and then Wonder Woman was using that system, and then also it is canceled. So, yeah.
Let me ask you this: of the current Sony franchises, what would you like to see them slot in like a Nemesis-like system?
Batman, actually. Oh, the current one. Yeah. Spider-Man could work, right?
I was thinking either. Well, the obvious one would be like the next Ghost of Tsushima, like the third one.
Yeah, that too.
But I actually think like a Sly Cooper would be really cool.
I don't know that.
But they're not touching that.
Punch is ever gonna.
Right. Well, give it to someone else. You know.
I mean that again, like that's a positive of getting more of these studios is
right.
they don't all have to be stuck on these Warner Bros. IP. They could use them to make some of these dormant franchises that, hey,
Right.
Sony has said that they want more family games, right? So why not bring back a Jack and Daxter or Sly Cooper or
right.
Like it wouldn't be a bad thing at all if you do that, because you need that more of that variety, not just the third person action narrative game and then now we're getting into fighting games whatever because we own Evo, and then we're doing the some things here and there. It's like it is a better thing to have that variety. So if that allows this acquisition allows for that, then I'm good for it. I mean, also because Warner Bros. Themselves, like, it'd be cool to see what like some studio does with an actual like Game of Thrones, putting Game of Thrones in that environment, and it's actually good. Would be kind of cool to see, right? Would they allow Mortal Kombat to be more than just the number Mortal Kombat game? Would they allow them to have the spin-offs again, like Shaolin Monks or something like that? I mean,
I would say no, because there's only, they made 3 spinoffs and only one is good. So
yeah. But
you'd hope they'd learn how to do that.
I agree. From the other perspective of it, Sony getting HBO Max, I mean, that's just allowing them to have an even bigger piece of the pie when it comes to distribution and getting control of, certain rights, having more revenue, having more money for things. Crunchyroll already has like some integration with HBO Max, so like they could bring that into that as well and then just make it all part of one. I don't know how that would work necessarily with working with Japan, or at least have like a bigger integration, like the way that Hulu has its like staple with anime as well. So I can see why this is of something that Sony really wants, right? It allows them a big sense of control of having a platform to kind of go more toe to toe with Microsoft on that front.
It's like it's like when Sony was trying to buy that anime company last year or whatever, and everyone thought it was for like the one
Katakawa,
reason.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's like no, that's a reason, but that's not the biggest reason at all. So,
but then they did the smart thing, right? They just, instead of acquiring them outright, which would have been a lot of chaos because you would have had to pay off all these other people that own Katakawa as well, including Tencent, you just became the highest percentage owner, right?
Yeah.
And then allowed Katakawa to kind of do its own thing. This is different in a way that like David Zaslav has been trying to just get rid of. It feels like everything that doesn't make money, when it comes to this, and
it's like if that's his goal, if you look in the mirror, okay, he clearly doesn't make money.
But it's like everything that has to do with Warner Brothers is like it feels like it's just an absolute shell of what they were, right? So it's like you might as well just what is David Zaslav really going to do with what's left? Like, what do you really have with the TV channels? Because cable is continuing to go down the rabbit hole of death.
I mean, the corporate speak answer is like they never wanted to just cast off IPs or big divisions, because like what happens if someone hits on the magic number, magic formula that makes it work,
right?
Yeah, we look like idiots. But it's like, well,
which Sony could do. But hey, if you give me enough money, then, and maybe Zaslav gets some kind of ancillary role in the company or whatever, and
janitor.
We'll see. Look, there's a long way between now and then. Who knows?
Right.
Somebody could come in at the last hour and swoop it away from Sony if they are that interested in it as well. We'll have to see, because there could be things when you get down to the actual like brass tacks of negotiating that wind up being to where Sony just says, you know what, we're not dealing with this crap.
Right.
We'll just buy the gaming studios and y'all can deal with the rest of the whatever that's going to be. But just the fact that they, like Warner Bros. Themselves, have like renamed HBO Max like 4 times now.
Yeah.
That tells you all you need to know about that company. Like,
right.
Not that they don't, because they do have things that they get right from the TV side and obviously whatever they have left on the movie side now with that DC universe coming back up and Superman and all that. We'll see. What if that becomes a big hit and now there's a rejuvenation with all of that. So
right.
Yeah. But I would like to see somebody get a hold of at least the gaming stuff so that it can get away from them. I don't see really what point it is if you don't get the IP to go along with it. If you're just getting the library to basically, I can resell all this stuff that's already been made. Cool. And I
mean,
guess
that was like
studios, but
that was like their earlier plan. They're trying to sell like NetherRealm, but you don't get the IP rights to Mortal Kombat. So it's like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? Like
right, like that's what NetherRealm knows how to do. Okay, so now they're just gonna make another fighting game, just not called Mortal Kombat. Like that doesn't make much sense.
it worked out well for that Tai Feng game or whatever the fuck, Taifu or
Yeah,
the John Tobias game back in the day.
Yeah, that doesn't help at all in that front.
Yeah.
But all right, one last kind of Sony adjacent thing, because it is kind of I guess a recurring thing for PSVR and PSVR 2 people, most likely. That's maybe like one of those forever games that they play. Beat Saber is ending support for PSVR and PSVR 2. They are still going to support on Steam and Meta. Obviously, doesn't Meta own them?
I think so.
Yeah, so starting in January 21, 2026, they will be sunsetting multiplayer. Beat Saber will no longer be available on PSVR and PSVR 2. You can still play the game if you bought it. You can still buy the game right now. It's just they're not going to be doing any more like DLC. I think you can't buy any more DLC. You'd have to buy anything that was put out before June 18th of this year, you can still buy. So it's kind of like Rock Band 4. You can still go and buy all the old DLC, but they're just not creating any new DLC.
Yeah.
Kind of sucks. This was the one thing that I always wanted for my PSVR, but I never got to actually buy it before it got to the point where I just was like, I'm not even gonna fool with this anymore. But I know a lot of people that love this game. They still play it every day. It's a great form of like exercise for them, or just a way to have fun, like another form of rhythm gaming. That doesn't involve plastic instruments or whatever. So it kind of sucks to see for PlayStation, I guess.
I imagine this isn't like a technical reason. I imagine this is like no one's buying DLC on this thing.
Yeah, and also, PSVR and VR2 are not.
I mean, I can see them
that
cutting on
hot.
VR1 support because that's 10 years old or whatever.
But remember, like PSVR2, they had to include like PC support in order to give it like a lifeline, because
and even then it's kind of not working or not great. So
yeah,
not surprising. Like I'm sure, if PSV or Beat Saber TLC or was making millions upon millions of dollars on VR2, like they'd still be doing it, but they're just like it's not even bothered to have the one engineer port this stuff over to the VR2 or VR1, so screw it.
Right. VR is kind of what it is at this point. It will.
I mean, I would say it's dead, or it's not dead dying.
It's definitely a niche. It's definitely
Yeah.
like a small niche that is going to remain around on the PC side of things.
Like I thought that Thief game looked cool. They shut off a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
But
the Thief VR. Yeah,
like that's such a niche title, and you can't get AAA games in that thing because the money's not there, and also like people don't want to wear a headset for 5 hours or whatever. So
right. It's definitely something you got to play little by little.
Yeah.
You know. Well, speaking of VR, really quick, just Xbox in their continuing to have Xbox branded devices that they don't make themselves.
Right.
There is now an Xbox edition of the MetaQuest. It has not been officially announced. It has been leaked, like an image of the box and then an image of what the actual thing looks like, which is essentially just the MetaQuest with black, and it has like a little bit of green, and then it has the Xbox like buttons on the thing that the actual like controller-ish thing.
Yeah.
It's rumored to cost $400. It's going to include 3 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and have 128 gigabytes of storage. It's apparently going to get officially announced like tomorrow or today, depending on when you're listening to this. So cool, I guess. I don't know how much Microsoft is getting out of this thing, but sure.
Didn't they do some partnership already with MetaQuest?
For Game Pass, yeah.
Okay.
Like Game Pass is on there. You can use Game Pass on your MetaQuest.
For all 4 VR games, Like...
No, not. You can just play games using your MetaQuest if you want. It doesn't have to be enabled. It's like using the cloud to stream or whatnot. So
the cloud has somewhat of a use case.
Yeah.
The VR thing, not at all.
I've seen people use it, and I guess it works, but it's just like I wouldn't want to do that. I guess if I want to be the few people that want to be stuck in their VR headset all day, I guess.
Yeah, it's like I can't afford a TV. I'm just going to buy a VR helmet. Be like, what?
Technically, you could do that, I guess. At least it doesn't cost $3,500 like the Apple one that no one bought.
Right.
But all right, quick before we get to the major Xbox news, they did announce the Xbox Game Pass stuff for this month. I already talked about Rematch that's out there. Also, FPC Firebreak came out for both Game Pass and PS Plus, and apparently it's not that great. There's some technical issues with that game, and then also just apparently it's just like compression problems as well.
That's another game where it's like, why did Remedy make this? Or did they want to make it? Or were they instructed to? And if they wanted to make it, why?
I don't know. It's just that whole like everybody feels like they got to have a live service thing. They got to have something that can make. It's not technically not a live service game, but it's like something that continues to go on, right? And it's like,
they were saying like, I mean, it is a lot more bite sized. Like you don't have to do the whole mission all in one go, and you can kind of like there are like break points in it and stuff. But it's like this, no.
Also, the Lost and Random Eternal Die, which is like a DLC for Lost and Random. This is apparently really good. Very equivalent to Hades. So maybe if you didn't play the first Lost and Random, but you like Hades, you might want to check this out. It's on Game Pass, as well as the other PC and others. It's on PlayStation as well. But Volcano Princess comes on the June 24th. You got Against the Storm also on June 26th. Warcraft 1 through 3, including Reforged, on PC Game Pass on June 26th.
Why not an Xbox?
Well, you kind of need a PC to play it.
Right.
Call of Duty. Yeah, go ahead.
Just use the Switch 2 controller, and it's no problem. Get a mouse right there.
All right. Call of Duty World War II is coming on June 30th. Little Nightmares 2 and Rise of the Tomb Raider are coming back on July 1st. So, and then you get the Fallout 76 expansion. The Gone Fission also is out now as well.
Yeah.
So there's that. Some decent stuff. If you're, especially for PC, you get some really cool classics there. And another Call of Duty showing up. So
they should finally finish StarCraft Ghost as it was back then, and it's released on Game Pass.
Yeah, right. I mean, that'd be
here you go. You always wanted to play it.
It's there.
Not good, but here you
go play it. Right, this is the whole point of Game Pass, even if it's unfinished. There you go. I put in a game preview,
right,
and that'll solve your problem.
The first, missions 2 through 7.
But all right, the big news for Xbox is that Sarah Bond had a 2-minute video where she talks about they have a new partnership. Well, it's the same partnership. They're just continuing the partnership with AMD to make future consoles, plural, handhelds, and other devices in order to make Windows the number one gaming, Windows, not Xbox, Windows, the number one gaming platform on the planet. Talked about your Xbox games will be available anywhere and everywhere you want to go. So what do you think? What'd you make of this whole thing?
It's not, I mean, I guess she said it, so I guess it's kind of news, but this being I think Nintendo's the only one that actually uses a NVIDIA chip.
The NVIDIA chip, yeah.
So yeah, the other two always, now they use AMD.
Well, PlayStation wants to use AMD because they want to make sure that PS4
backwards compatible. Yeah.
Which they said is still a huge pillar of their, console base. So,
and I'm sure for Microsoft it's kind of the same way.
Definitely, because they have to live on the promise of that your games are going to keep going.
Right.
But I mean, do you think this is gonna? There's also yeah. Go ahead.
I think the strategy for the next Xbox is going to kind of be the same thing as this. They're going to release the more traditional big console, ultra powerful console, and then some crappy stream box that's $200. Because they see the economics of it, but I think they don't really see. That's only one aspect. A lot of Xbox games are kind of hobbled by the Series S. And then also I don't think Windows is particularly good.
Well, but I mean that's the whole point. This is the whole point. Starting with that Xbox ROG Ally thing. They want to make Windows something that you want to use as an OS because they don't want SteamOS getting put into Lenovo Legion Goes because Windows 11 is such a hog. And
I mean, they may not want that, but it's the same thing about okay, let's say you got a new laptop right now. What are the top 5 things you do on it? Probably download Steam.
Yeah.
Maybe grab Office or Word, some free Office suite, or if you have an old one, whatever. Number 3 or number 1 or whatever, grab Chrome.
Yeah.
Despite Microsoft trying to beat in your head, Edge is so much better, and
Well, but they've lost that battle. They know that people use Google to search, and they know people use Chrome as the internet browser.
Right, but I'm saying that's the thing is they're already losing the Windows battle. I don't think Linux is ever going to take over because that's crazy. But if you're talking the enthusiast crowd, once SteamOS gets good enough to be on a desktop, I envision a lot of the Steam hardware survey being a much more interesting list in the future.
Yeah, but that's kind of the point, though. Is like they need that to be a thing because this is going to power the next generation of all of whatever the heck is going to be called Xbox.
Right.
So they need that to be viable, and then that starts with this UI that also includes them aggregating Steam to insiders starting next week or this week.
Yeah.
Where you're gonna have on your PC, you're gonna have a library tab on your Xbox app, and it's gonna be able to take all your games that you have on Steam, and then it's gonna be able to put them into that library aggregator on your Xbox app, and you can boot it off of there.
Right.
I don't know how much people are going to really use that. I guess it's a way to get you to stay into that The problem is, have you fixed the PC Xbox app well enough to people want to keep using that thing? Because that's part of the problem too. Is that Xbox app on PC is, for a lot of its life has been garbage. Or it just, because it can't even stay open. A lot of times it just crashes. It's so annoying to play anything on that thing.
This is I think, well, when Microsoft has this problem, but so does Nvidia. Like their PC stuff is just such in shambles right now. And it's like, yeah, because you're focusing on AI crap that barely anyone cares about.
Well, GeForce Now works really well. And so does their Xbox's like cloud version of that. But yeah, the apps that you have to, like the Nvidia app doesn't really bother me. It just has to always update constantly.
The Nvidia app, like games are specifically warning against specific drivers now because they're just so fucked. And that's a problem. Like
and that's another thing too. Is the Xbox app going to do what Steam does, where it automatically detects when you're missing something in order to play the game?
No.
So that it will actually, install it for you so you can play the game, or you're gonna have to go figure out how to install whatever driver it is.
Right.
That's the thing too, is like I wonder how this is all gonna work. I still wonder like how when we actually get, because you know what, I don't really care about how it really works on PC. Because on the whole point of having the console part of it is that I don't want to have to worry about, the shader for this is not working, or I have to go install this driver, or I have to go. I want it to just, I start up my Xbox. Okay, my Steam games are here. I press the button and the Steam game loads without me having to install something. Is that how it's going to work on console? I don't know. I mean, obviously there's stuff you still have to go download Steam itself in order for it to even recognize all that. It's not like, it's going to know it without you.
Right.
It's just, you don't have to boot into Steam in order for it to work, or Epic or GOG or whatever other thing is going to work on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of logistics that have to work. I think the important part for me that she mentions here is the Xbox library part of that is going to go forward with you. Especially because apparently the Xbox is going to just be a PC, and there's so many of those Xbox games that were never on PC, or don't have a PC version, or you bought it on your older systems, right? Or they don't have Play Anywhere. What's going to happen to those? Are you going to make those work? So I don't have to have my Series X still plugged in to play them. Like, how is that going to work? There is rumors going around that the people that worked on the original Xbox emulator, the Xenia people, are working on an emulator to get the 360 and original Xbox games to work on whatever the next Xbox is going to be called. And also would make it to where those things will also work on the PC handhelds and what other thing. So, that's something that has to finish here for that. Is
Right.
is they have to get that point down. They have to get that part down. Is to me that's the most critical part. Is you got to make this library work because we know okay they're good at making hardware. They'll make it powerful. They'll do all this stuff. It'll be great. But this stuff has to all work smoothly, you know. And if it doesn't, then we'll see. But it's also still a logistical thing of how is this all going to work for Microsoft, like money wise, like all this stuff. It's interesting. Like, is Valve just going to let that store be there, and then Microsoft gets nothing, and you're going to have two versions of the same game, and people just don't like. Is it going to be where they lock Gears from being able to be bought on Steam when you use it on Xbox? Like, how is that going to work? Like, you know, that's the kind of thing that I want to know how that works. Like,
I imagine it's like if you buy it on Steam, they'll have like, oh, here's $10 extra. You can buy it on the Xbox as well.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, are they going to boot into the store? Right. And that's something too. Like, are you gonna have to go into Steam, buy the thing, and then it shows up in your Xbox library, or are you gonna be allowed to go on these stores and buy the things there through the Xbox? Like, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Moving on from that. Let's go. I'm getting a call and I'm having to like constantly try to explain while we're recording here that still recording.
Right.
All right, Nintendo Direct. Did you watch the Donkey Kong Bonanza thing?
Just took a minute or two. It looked okay. Got young Pauline and more dumb amiibos. What about you?
I thought it looked great. I was more convinced by this than I was when they initially showed it.
Right.
I like the fact that it's Pauline, as in, you know, you have her be the odd rock or whatever, and then it shows that it's her, and then like it actually has like a 2-player co-op aspect of it,
right?
Which is really cool because I wasn't expecting that at all.
I mean, she's part of Donkey Kong's rich history.
Yeah, well, yeah, it makes people. I heard a lot of people were talking about that. You know, apparently now it was Mario the bad guy all along in that game, in the original game.
Right. Well, it wasn't Donkey Kong Jr. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. But I really liked it. I liked what they showed from the gameplay aspect of it.
Right.
From like that he has all these powers and that you'll eventually be able to upgrade them. The item system, it's like almost like an RPG without having the level up mechanics, kind of sort of. It does have a you could definitely tell this is an Odyssey. The Odyssey team made this because it has a lot of Odyssey in it.
Doesn't Donkey Kong have like a skill tree?
Yes, he does. He has a skill tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an item shop. There's you can change what he wears along with Pauline. So, you know, it's cool. I'm more excited for this than I really was originally when they showed it. I'm kind of I think I'm gonna get on that pre-ordering and be getting this soon when it comes out. Just because I loved Odyssey a lot. This showed a lot of that same kind of stuff that I love from that game. I love all the different worlds that they showed, and the like boss battles look cool, and it has the different transformations for Donkey Kong as well. So, yeah, I think Nintendo did themselves actually a good service of having this be by itself.
Right.
Like probably one of the better, if not the best, like single direct that they've had.
Yeah.
So good on them for that. Also, two interesting stories here when it comes to potential. Well, three, but one of them is like really quick. Square Enix basically said that all that's left is Nintendo for Final Fantasy 16. So that's probably coming to Switch 2 at some point. Xbox sales have been, I don't know, they had to go retract a report that was done by some kind of like company that kind of looks into data or whatever, because the actual like deluxe edition is like number 11 on the store at one point. So it like has to sell decently enough well to be up there.
Right.
But we'll see when it comes to Switch. But two, like, I guess bigger games, Souls-likes, I guess if you want to call them that, gain traction and sell well. And now they're getting rumors of they're going to get Switch 2 versions, that being Liza P, because they've now officially sold 3 million. And as part of like the package of things that they got for doing well, which include like paid vacation and extra bonus money, they all got bought Switch 2s.
Yeah.
So people are kind of reading into that like, does this mean that they're using that as a way to learn how to develop for the Switch 2, so they can put Liza P on the Switch 2?
If that was the case, they'd be getting Switch 2 dev kits, not Switch 2.
Well, no, but I mean, like, okay, start using the Switch 2, be familiar with what it does, that kind of thing, and then you come back in and go, hey, you know what? I think we can get this to work on here. Yeah. And then you get the dev kit or whatever. The bigger one, because even though Shift Up owns the IP, it is, a Sony thing, Stellar Blade may get a Switch 2 port. Also kind of being right between the lines, because similar to what Shift Up did with PlayStation, where they bought everybody PS5s when Stellar Blade sold well.
Right.
The PC port has now hit 1 million sales, much faster than they took for PlayStation 5 to hit 1 million sales.
Everyone gets a free PC, only it's from 2002.
Right. They've also now sold 3 million as well, combined between the two. They bought the Shift Up's main man has brought the whole dev team Switch 2s as well. So a lot of thinking about that. It wouldn't be the first Sony game, but this is not a Sony game, right?
Right.
That has made its way over to PlayStation.
Yeah.
So, or over to the Switch. The Lego Horizon game was the first one. Do you think this is actually coming? Do you think we're going to see it on Switch 2? Obviously, Stellar Blade 2 is being made as well, so that's going to come to PlayStation 5 and PC first. But
I could. I mean, I imagine. I don't think it'll look great. Let's put it that way. But I think. I think Liza P would probably have a better shot. Let's say that.
Right.
But just imagine all the hot Stellar Blade Mario crossover costumes they're gonna make.
Yeah. Hey, that could be something. I could see them doing it. I could see them adding in like.
Hey, it worked for Bananza.
Well, and they did it for Hitman, right? They had the Mario and Luigi like skin sort of things, like the colored suits or whatever, for World of Assassination. So I can see it.
Eve dressing up as Tanuki Mario.
Right. Yeah, they always seem to add new outfits for her every time she gets. They added a bunch of outfits for the PC version. So why not have one for the Switch version as well?
Right.
But this leads to talking about third-party sales in general at launch for the Switch 2, which, according to the game business, have not been good outside of Cyberpunk 2077, which has done really well. All the other games have done like are at a 5% attach rate, and some even lower than that. Matt Piscatella came out and said that like it actually did better than the Switch One. Like it's at 40% third party compared to 20% for the Switch One. Obviously, Switch One had Zelda Breath of the Wild, which made it so people were like way more happy with that than getting, just Mario Kart. But I think a lot of people were also just happy with Mario Kart, and then you could play your Switch One library, so you didn't need to buy a bunch of games. But what do you think is like kind of attributed to like the lower sales, I guess, for the third party?
No new third party games.
Yeah.
If all the third party games, or maybe isn't it like that one Rune Factory game? Is that new?
Rune Factory is the only one. The Guardians of Azuma is the only one that's technically new, right? It basically launched at the same time.
I assume it's only a digital only game because I've never even seen that in the store.
No, that is actually one of the few, along with Cyberpunk, that are not game key cards.
Okay, but I get to see it in the store.
Yeah,
and when all the other crap is Split Fiction, and what else is there? Like
Bravely Default, which is technically new for people that don't have the 3DS, but it's just a remaster of the 3DS game.
Right.
But it's also an old game. Like Cyberpunk, there's a lot of people that
Well, Cyberpunk has the novelty of it being on a Nintendo console, but then people wanted to see how well it runs.
And also it includes the DLC.
Right.
As well, the expansion. So that it has it all in that one package. Like you said, it is about being a kind of a standard bearer for the system, about how well it runs it, which seems to run it really well. And then the rest of them is really old games. So like nobody has an incentive to go and buy any of those games because they already played them, or they can buy them on something else so much cheaper. So, again, I also think that Mario Kart World is a big factor in that people bought that. They were happy with it. They were cool with just having that and playing their Switch One library, or getting the upgrade for Zelda, playing those, and then waiting for Donkey Kong. There's not this big tentpole third-party release that's coming with the system.
There aren't 5 new Ubisoft games on this thing.
No Assassin's Creed Shadows on here.
Right.
So, I don't think we didn't really make a big deal about it. I think if Donkey Kong comes and more people are picking that up, they might start surfing around the store more. Also, remember, they just added GameCube as well, and you got 3 games on there you could be playing too if you already have the Switch expansion pack thing. So, including a Zelda, and like I look, the launch lineup is not great. It's not great at all. It's just from a game standpoint.
All right,
but I think that when people said that, they're like, we're not expecting this to sell. None of these games. I think I get it that everybody says, oh, things sell on Switch. But it was like that at the Switch One launch as well. And it just took time. And once you get past the whole, like, okay, that Raidu remaster game that came out this week, that's like the first Switch 2 game aside from the Rune Factory game that's coming out day and date.
Yeah.
So, like, once you get it to where the Switch 2 is catching up to PS5 and Xbox Series, as far as like, okay, these games are releasing day and date on all of them, I think that's when you can start really kind of painting that picture. But I think right now it's like too early to be, saying anything about it being a failure or whatever. And also people still like buying Nintendo games on their Nintendo system. It's just kind of how it is.
Yeah, I didn't buy the Switch 2 to get to play, Assassin's Creed Shadows on it. I played to play Mario and Donkey Kong and whatever other crap Nintendo crap is going to be on it. So
yeah, that's the truth right there. Also, Mario Kart World. There was an interview done by US France with producer Kosuke Yabuki, he's asked about why there are no guest characters, like there was for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and he said, "Well, this is a much more of a Mario world because of the free roam and all that. That it would have felt weird to have Link and Zelda and Samus and all that in here, so they decided not to have guest characters." Obviously, this comes off the heels that Sonic Crossworlds is not only having guest characters of its own IPs like Persona and Like a Dragon, and it's also having Nickelodeon characters, SpongeBob, and eventually the Ninja Turtles, and even Avatar. And then also Steve from Minecraft.
Right.
So it's going everywhere. Do you think they eventually add guest characters to Mario Kart?
Yeah.
World?
But they'll cost money.
Yeah, it'll be like I could see them doing the Smash Brothers thing of just like, hey, we've included this person. Go be happy about it.
Included Sephiroth, and his sword takes up the entire.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
Racetrack side, or
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I do think that's giving Sonic Crossroads some hype, though. Like, I think that's helping them a lot. Like, make all these partnerships. People are kind of excited about the game that maybe they wouldn't be otherwise. And also, these Sonic races are usually pretty decent. So you add that in, and then add in these guest characters, and I think they're actually like setting themselves up to be a win here.
Yeah.
I can see people picking it up even on Switch too, even though that's coming out like later. They just pick it up the Switch version, I guess. But yeah, that's good. Good for Sega, Speaking of good for Sega, they announced sales numbers accidentally on an investor website. I gotta love these websites that people just post stuff and don't realize that, hey, you're posting data that probably wasn't supposed to be posted.
Right.
But it's too late now. It's already out on the internet. Interesting numbers here. Persona 5 Royal, which includes a remaster, 7.25 million. Metaphor Fantasio also has 2 million. It's not on here, but Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, only 1.6. Interesting.
The Yakuza branding has a much stronger name.
That's what I think too. Like that Yakuza Like a Dragon sold almost 3 million. I definitely think that there's that Yakuza. People don't know that it's a Yakuza game just right off the thing. So,
I also think Like a Dragon makes it sound like much more like a fantasy game.
Yeah, that too.
Like, I think people, there is the somewhat cultural knowledge of Yakuza rather than Like a Dragon.
Yeah, I also think Yakuza Like a Dragon got a lot of hype because it was the first one with Ichiban.
Yeah.
And it really had that story that I think was very, very impactful. I think there's a lot of Infinite Wealth. Also, Mana Race's name barely shade under 1 million, like 9,000 something, or 900,600 something, whatever.
Right.
I think there was that like kind of barrier to entry for a lot of people. They were like, "Well, I have no idea who Kiryu is."
Yeah.
And I don't want to go play 6 games to go find out who he is, or whatever, or So I think there is that like thing of just, okay, Yakuza Like a Dragon was kind of set on its own, and then them trying to include all the other characters in Infinite Wealth, I think kind of may have hurt it a little bit.
Yeah, because even I don't know who some of those people were. So,
Yeah, I mean, also Yakuza Like a Dragon has more time out there, right, to be able to sell that. Like, let's see what happens in another year from now, how well Infinite Wealth sells or whatever. Hey, and Sonic, all these spinoffs of Sonic are doing great. All these other Sonic games like Superstars, 2.4 million, Frontiers, 4.5, Team Sonic Racing, 3.5. So, let's see if Crossworlds can can live up to that at least.
I think I saw they're going to make a Frontier sequel. That should be good.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. You'd think that they would sell good numbers there.
Yeah.
The only other thing is Persona 4 Revival, apparently, according to a report from Sega, is not going to release until fiscal 2027. So, like, spring 2026 would be the earliest
Yeah.
that it comes out. Which, take all the time you need. Yeah.
That really is not surprising. I mean, considering how long that trailer was. It's like, yep, they probably finished rendering this like a few hours beforehand and said, let's put it out.
Yeah, that definitely felt like that. Like I would say, what do you think about would it be a problem if Persona 6 winds up coming out before that game? Like they gotta be well on with that game at this point, right? Like it's been a while.
It has, but they have to do more new stuff. I mean, theoretically, it's going to be a more expansive, or I wouldn't say bigger, but
yeah, because we're already at the point from Persona 5 to now, like the same time frame. Obviously, different consoles, got a more power, all that kind of stuff, and more, the art has to be better, all that kind of thing. Although they already did that for Metaphor, so and that's not is it the same team or it's a separate team, right? That's working on.
I have no idea.
They couldn't be working on Metaphor and Persona 6 at the same time, right?
Right.
Or maybe they are, maybe they had one team and another team, but they did say when they announced Persona 4 Revival that they did say they are working on the next Persona thing, but it feels like, man, are we really going to get to the point where spring 2026 and we still haven't gotten an announcement of Persona 6 at all? Don't even know what's going on with that. And then we get another remake for Persona 4. And by then.
Yeah, I think 6 is probably further along in a general sense, but they'll release 4 a remaster anyway first. Because they're going to hold off on 6, and 4 will appease the masses until they release 6. And by the time 6 is done, they'll have 3 of their 6 projects in the works as well. So,
I mean, I could also see them do the same thing they did with Metaphor and Persona 3 Reload, right? Where they release them both in the same year.
Right.
So that could happen.
Like,
plus, that they're doing a remake of 1 and 2. They're just not saying anything. I feel like that's got to be coming.
I'd like it because those games are much harder to get back into, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right, really quickly here for the last couple of things. There's a Capcom showcase on Thursday. Pretty much expect all of the same games we saw at Summer Game Fest. So the 2 games that are already out, Monster Hunter Wilds, no duh, Street Fighter 6 as well, no duh, just came out on Switch 2, so definitely they're going to be wanting to have a talk about that. It's going to be 40 minutes, but there also is going to be more about Pragmata and Resident Evil Requiem, so definitely reasons to tune in for the other 2 games. Also, like, what do you think about the Fall from Grace on Monster Hunter Wilds? Kind of weird, huh?
I did okay, but I mean, they'll release DLC or new monsters and it'll perk right back up again.
Yeah, I hope it's just that, because it's like, man, there was so much talk about it when it first came out at the beginning of the year, or towards that beginning of the year, and then it's like now we're getting negative Steam reviews and all this other stuff with the game, which is weird. So,
content is over. So
yeah, Arc Systems Work also going to have their own showcase on Thursday night for us in the US, Friday during the day for Japan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can watch both of them that day, which is cool. Capcom showcase ends, and then a couple hours later, the Arc Systems Work showcase will start at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Right.
They are promising new game announcements along with, probably maybe more Marvel token Souls,
For
and
sure.
also
Yeah.
a tease of the next thing from Daisuke Ishiwatari, which he worked on Guilty Gear Strive. So, you think it's
People
going to
are
be a new Guilty Gear?
probably.
Yeah,
It damn sure is not going to be another Blaze Blue.
no, definitely not.
People are like obsessed with that. Like, oh, we want a new Blaze Blue. It's like, why? Like, this franchise only existed because they lost Guilty Gear for a while. So
Yeah. All right. Also, Dune Awakening has sold 1 million copies in 2 weeks.
Cool.
I've heard a lot of good things about the game, so that's cool. Glad to see that it's selling well for the people that are enjoying it. Cool for Funcom too, because that Conan game did not do that well, and for them
Right.
to come back with this and it does well, great for the developer to do that. So
People like Dune.
yeah, definitely they're riding that wave of Dune. And in a weird one, Adi Shankar continues to do his greenlighting video game TV projects. He's now bought the rights to Duke Nukem for a TV
Right.
series.
That'll be a cartoon, but yeah.
Yeah, that could be fun, right?
I mean, it's
Like
pretty
you can
open-ended.
just do
Like,
crazy shit. Like,
yeah. It doesn't have like a deep story. There's no like mythology with Duke, except so who cares?
I still need to watch the Devil May Cry one, but all I've heard is great things. So
Right.
yeah, I have faith in Adi Shankar. This dude doesn't mess around when he's making these. And
I told you he emailed me once, right?
no, you did not.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 years ago. He emailed me about like the top 8 column I do. He was like, "Oh, I read it." I'm like, "Why?" Like I
Hey,
barely
that's
read
cool,
it.
man. I'd be happy to say that Adi
No, but
Shankar
like,
read my.
yeah, like he
Yeah,
he complimented me on a few things. I'm like, all right, that's cool. Like,
you
this
don't
is
remember
weird.
which
Like,
one it
it was like
was? Was it a
no, I mean, I
Capcom
think
thing or?
I saw the email, but no, it was more like I read it often, or I read it when it comes.
Hey,
I don't
that's
know
cool,
when it comes
man.
out, but I was like, wow, okay.
Hey, that's something you could say right there. Hey, Adi Shankar reads my column.
All right,
All
he's
right,
the one.
so that's it for the news stuff. As we always do, end the show on what's coming out this week. The I think this is kind of where it. We had a lot of interesting stuff released last week.
Yeah,
The Gales of Nayeli comes out this week on PC. That's an indie game that's kind of got some buzz around it. The Gex trilogy has had issues
right.
to the fact where they actually asked to have it removed from Switch 2 because it doesn't work on asked to have it
It's
removed from Switch because it doesn't work on Switch 2.
credit to them. Like
Yeah.
they just didn't say keep it up, or so.
Yeah. Interesting. The Ratatan, spiritual successor to Patapon comes out on the 25th for PC. A Little to the Left's DLC, Seeing Stars, comes out on the 25th as well. Against the Storm, which I mentioned already, is a day one release for Game Pass, but it's also coming out on like everything. Death Stranding 2 on the beach is coming.
Yep.
People have already got the reviews out there. Randy is gonna try to be on next week to talk about it. He is a huge Death Stranding fan. That Persona 5 Phantom X, the gotcha
Right.
game, also comes out on the 26th. Are you gonna play that?
Probably not. Infinity Nikki has spoiled gotcha games for me.
Yeah, man. I would have fall from grace for that
Right.
game. The Ruffy and the Riverside indie game that I talked about playing the demo also comes out on the 26th, and the System Shock 2 25th anniversary remaster also comes to everything. And I completely forgot again that Tamagotchi Plaza game is coming out on the 27th. I feel like Nintendo has just gone radio silent about this game. Yeah. Some cool stuff again there. You gonna end up playing Death Stranding 2?
If I somehow get it, I would, but I'm not hopeful, and I'm not like biding my time or anything. So
it is not Sony's PR. It's a different PR company, so maybe you get a chance
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
But all right, that's it for this week. Thank you everyone for watching, whether you watch live or you listen later or watch later. We do appreciate you. Go hit a like, subscribe, follow, review, all that. And we'll see you next week.
Later.
Bye.